super, super excited because it's season 2 and this is the live premiere. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tonight we have so many talks and things to talk about. It's more sizzling talk and entertainment to continue to uplift your soul. And tonight we're talking about the presidential debate. As we all know, this is a very, emotional topic for a lot of people. But today we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the Massachusetts ballot questions, the power of our voice, and why, why we matter, what we can do in our own community. So stay tuned for an episode full of wonderful intellects on our guest panelists today. We're going to have so much fun. Stay tuned. Fahrenheit TV coming to you live here at BNN Studios.
Fahrenheit TV.
On today's episode, we're having deep conversations featuring Maya X, Natural Bliss, Kristen Halbert, Rosie Santana, and Justin Springer. Join us as we discuss politics, voting, community leadership, and more, live here on BNN Studios. Thank you so much for tuning in to season 2 of Fahrenheit TV. Tonight we have a lot to talk about. As you know, the presidential election is coming up in less than 3 weeks. And we have a little bit of mixed feelings. But before we get right into it, let me introduce to you guys my wonderful panelists. They are beyond great people in our community. They do so many things. They come from different backgrounds. And tonight we're going to be learning about them, their opinions, and you're going to be learning about them as well. So right here we have Rosie Santana. This young intellect is only in high school, everyone. And most teenagers are age when they're on social media, they share videos like, oh, makeup tips, stuff like that. I do it too, so I'm guilty a little bit. But this one is always sharing events you could go to have your voice be heard, participating in different conversations. She's such a young activist. She does it so well. So welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, yay. And right next to her is Kristen Halbert. Kristen is also so beyond engaged in so many things. I mean, she has so many titles and stuff. So I can't wait to hear her opinions tonight. This queen is doing so many things in our community, so thank you again for joining us.
I'm so happy that you have me.
Oh, yay, awesome. And we have Maya X. Maya X came back on the show, guys. I'm so beyond lucky. I'm so happy. I call her my personal historian. She knows everything, and she's so cool, calm, and humble. She has a cool, unique style. Thank you so much, Maya, for being on the show today. We can't wait to hear your conversations and everything you're going to be sharing with us today.
Thank you so much. Honored to be with everyone tonight.
Awesome. And our only man on the panelist, the bravest one of all, Justin Springer came and joined us. Justin Springer, I've been lucky to know for a while now, and he's so involved with so many things around the community. He puts a lot of events for people like us around, Boston. Give us things to do, give us a way to connect with others. So thank you so much, Justin, for being here. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Woo! Okay, guys, so let's get right into it. So, the presidential election is going on. What are your thoughts, feelings, opinions about the election? How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm actually feeling a little bit worried about it. At this point, we can be pretty sure that it's going to be one of two candidates. It's probably going to be either Clinton or Trump. Although every single day I feel like I hear another person say another third, fourth, fifth party candidate. So I think this year more than any, even if we are really looking at these two options for our president going to be sworn in next year, we're also seeing a lot more people getting into the race and getting a little bit more publicity, and that gives me a lot of hope for expanding this two-party system a little bit further down the line.
Yeah, because as we can see, it's only been just one or the other, and for many people, they don't some people don't feel like, you know, they have what they want in a president. I mean, all the propaganda we see on TV nowadays and like all the media, it's almost like a reality TV series, at least for me. Like watching it, I mean, I'm entertained more than I'm educated, if that makes sense. Do you guys feel the same?
I think if I can speak for myself, this election has been really unique. If you look at the history of elections, it's really ugly. And at times, for me, I have to unplug. You have two candidates that you really can't identify with their policies because they're so busy attacking each other. And I think for me, I have no fear as an individual as who wins. I think what's missing, and we can talk a little bit more about it later on, is whoever wins, we as a community have to be aggressive to whatever candidate. And I think we're coming into a time where these candidates are being promoted like celebrities.
Yeah, they are.
And their brands, you know, you already got Donald Trump planning other plans. So I think for us, we just got to be, you know, not fearful and not idolize these candidates, because when it comes down to it, it's a job, and we have to put, you know, the fire on anyone in public office.
Hold them accountable. Because,
exactly.
like you said, they're reality stars as of this point.
So it's been ugly, and you know, it's hard to really stay in tune the whole time. But for me, you know, anyone that I talk to, it's like, don't have any fear. You know, build your own presidential campaign, and you know, and we got to be accountable for what we bring into the community, and not any man or woman that's in that position is going to dictate what my legacy is going to be.
That's right, Jesse.
And we can together create our own opportunities and campaigns at a high school level, at a college level, even at a, you know, I hate the word senior citizen, but at a, you know, at an elderly level as well, where we can create campaigns, grassroots campaigns that are addressing what we want our public leaders to, or, you know, I wouldn't say leaders, but public officials. I mean, there are leaders in public office, I wouldn't say that, but I don't want to talk too much. I think we have a lot of time to talk.
No, but thank you for sharing. You have really valid points right here. Maya, how are you feeling? Or Rosie, how are you feeling?
I think that I very much have to agree with all of you. I think that this presidential election and the debate specifically feel like America's biggest reality show.
Yeah, it really is.
Where we're not very focused on battling the social and political issues that we're interested in, but rather than we're the presidential candidates are focusing on bashing each other and Trump claiming
like
about Hillary's.
Their Twitter fire is like going up. Like social media is like, oh my gosh, look what Clinton said, look what Trump said. It's insane. I'm like so entertained by it, but I'm like, I'm not learning anything. Like I don't know. But
So Trump claiming about Hillary Clinton deleting her emails, and then Hillary bashing about his
him calling her a nasty woman and all stuff.
Tax returns, etc.
How about you, Maya? How are you feeling?
Wow. But I think what history has shown us is that there's a reason why the two-party system exists, you know, because if it was truly about the people and about the citizenry of the folks that live in the United States, this wouldn't be over $1 billion campaign. And so we have to, I think, ask different questions, you know, because like you said before, the media is what we call the fourth power of the United States, right? After the executive, the judicial, and the legislative, you have this body. And over the past 20 years, they have grown into this conglomerate of probably less than 10. And then, you know, so we look at it and see how they tell the people what the conversation is going to be and how to direct that conversation. But we know that, you know, have we heard them address the issues about police brutality? Have we heard them address the issues here. We sit in Boston, Massachusetts, which is ranked #1 in terms of income inequality. You know, are there issues around housing that are being addressed? Are there issues
all the
around
important issues that we need them to be speaking about.
Exactly, and so I think that, like what the sister just said earlier, you know, it's great to see that there's this movement to expand beyond this two-party system, you know, because if this was a true and just system, all of the candidates, you know, would be on the election and the debates and having conversations, right?
Exactly.
But the ones that you see are the ones that are being funded. And when you saw, there was a report that came out today that Wall Street has spent $2.3+ million per day.
Per day?
Per day on these election campaigns with these particular candidates. So.
Well, Maya, I'm going to stop you right there because we're going to go to a quick video clip. So last week I had the opportunity to attend one of Bread's events, and we got to get some reactions of what people thought of the presidential debate. As you know, a week from today, last week, October 19th was the last presidential debate, and Fahrenheit TV went and got some people's reactions. So stay tuned to watch this clip, and we'll discuss it more when we come back. During the last presidential debate, Fahrenheit TV went to Dudley Doe's presidential debate watch party to get people's opinions about what they thought of the debate.
I know the awesome responsibility of protecting our country and the incredible opportunity of working to try to make life better for all of you. I have made the cause of families my life's work. That's what my mission will be in the presidency. I will stand up for families against powerful interests, against corporations. I will do everything that I can to make sure that you have good jobs with rising incomes, that your kids have good educations from preschool through college. Will give me a chance to serve as your president.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Mr. Trump?
She's raising the money from the people she wants to control. It doesn't work that way. But when I started this campaign, I started it very strongly. It's called Make America Great Again. We're going to make America great. We have a depleted military. It has to be helped. It has to be fixed. We have the greatest people on earth in our military. We don't take care of our veterans. We take care of illegal immigrants, people that come into the country illegally, better than we take care of our vets. That can't happen. Our policemen and women are disrespected. We need law and order, but we need justice too. Our inner cities are a disaster. You get shot walking to the store, they have no education, they have no jobs. I will do more for African Americans and Latinos than she can ever do in 10 lifetimes. All she's done is talk to the African Americans and to the Latinos. But they get the vote, and then they come back, they say, we'll see you in 4 years. We are going to make America strong again, and we are going to make America great again, and it has to start now. We cannot take 4 more years of Barack Obama, and that's what you get when you get her.
I'm Shoni. I live in Roxbury and I work at Dudley Doe. And my #1 issue with the debate is why there are no third-party candidates debating. Jill Stein is definitely up for candidacy as well, and she's nowhere to be found. Nobody talks about her. So I'd like to know her thoughts on a lot of these questions. If we understand where Trump and Hillary stands, like I think it's crazy that we only have a two-party system, and we actually have more than a two-party system, but we only ever represent the two-party system. So.
My name is Karsten, and I live and work at Haley House Soup Kitchen in South End. And I feel dumber after having to listen to Donald Trump. I think he lowers the bar of speech, and not to mention what he's saying, or what he does with his life, and who he is as a person. He lowers the moral, ethical, and speech standards for legitimate figure in this country, and it's really painful to watch that happen and be legitimated on television.
So what do you entrepreneurs think of the presidential debates?
I'm going to be totally honest with you tonight. I came here to network with some of the great creatives in this city. I have no interest. I gave it about a good 12 seconds. And I already know what was going to go down. And, Donald Trump did not come to debate. Donald Trump just came to utilize the platform to, pretty much project his propaganda. conspiracy theories, his hate, his anger, and his hate for the country. So I didn't really have too much energy for him. But I did hear Hillary did well. So that's my experience. But I mean, at the end of the day, I came here to meet some good people, and we debated. We debated about other things. You know, we running for our own presidential elections.
Absolutely. Awesome. And for me, the rhetoric is it's mind blowing to see that there was more insults and name calling and low blows and just temper tantrums than debating about the issue that's really going to affect the everyday American. And a lot of times you always hear them talk about different things that affect the middle class, but you never talk about those who make less than the middle class. I never hear no one talk about those who make less than the middle class or the working poor. So neither candidate really talked about that issue. So it looked like it reminded me of my two children debating over who's going to get the last slice of pizza. So for me, it's really become a joke. So the debates is not really how I'm going to base my voting, because it's really a big joke now.
I look forward to the election being over, and I'm very much hoping that he doesn't get elected.
The presidential elections are approaching in less than 3 weeks. Who will you vote for? So thank you guys for watching that clip, and thank you to all the participants for giving their opinions of what they thought of the presidential debate last week. Justin, you were there at the event and you gave your opinion. Do you still feel the same about the presidential debate for you, watching those? Like, do you feel like it's just like pointless to watch them almost?
I wouldn't say it's pointless. I just think when these two are on stage, it just turns into an ugly, I think he gets frustrated. He goes off course from what he was, preparing for. So you don't really get any substance of what his policies or what he fights for. And then on her end, she's just kind of like backtracking on the mistakes she might have made. But to be honest with you, Hillary has made some mistakes, but she also is very, she's done, some dirt, But I mean, at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of things of value that she has done in her history of public office that she can't even address because she's fighting. So yeah, so my opinion still, that was the last debate. Yeah. And I think they should just focus right now on really delivering their message.
Yeah, I mean, they have like less than 3 weeks to deliver that message. I mean, we're going to be voting soon. And I just wanted to introduce one of our guests. Natural Bliss came and joined us. She is a hip-hop artist, a soulful woman. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So what did you think? Did you get to watch the debates, or what are your opinions on them?
I watched snippets of the debates when they were on the news or something. Yeah. And I pretty much just... It's not my thing. Yeah, yeah. Because I first of all, I don't believe in voting, especially this election. So I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm not going to give them the ratings. I'm not going to sit in front of my television and give that my attention, because I think it's a big game.
It is.
They parade. They're parading one of the. It's people say, it's the lesser. Vote for the lesser of two evils. Well, you have two evils. They're both evil. They both have done some of the worst things. Yeah. And I think if the voting system itself is legitimate, then what I think they're trying to do with Trump is parade the worst candidate in your face to get you to vote for the lesser. For the lesser of the evils. So it's like Operation Shock and Awe. They flaunt him in your face, and he's loud, boisterous, obnoxious, rude, racist.
Yeah, disrespectful.
And then you're like, well, might as well vote for Hillary, because it's better than having Trump in office. Who knows what he'll do? You know? So looking at that, I think we have to keep our eyes open to what's going on. And Hillary herself, if people start really looking into the Clintons and some of the things they've done in the past, and people start reading up on the Clintons, especially a book called Clinton Cash, which will expose a lot of the things they have done. So to me, she's the candidate who smiles in your face. She's the one they want you to vote for because she's a woman, and they want women to align themselves with that, because she'll be the first woman president.
Yeah, to make history. And
make history.
Yeah.
So they sell you with these little points here, but then they don't look into the bigger picture. We like to call her Billary or Killary.
And one of the participants made a good point. She said, how come they don't have the other independent candidates on the platform? I think that would be like a more fair thing to have everyone have their chance, but it's always against the two political parties. And that brings me to my next question for you guys is, do you think capitalism is like hurting our country or helping it? And do you think America needs a different like political system?
I definitely think that capitalism has significant drawbacks. I mean, it really does produce certain people who are mostly concerned about just getting ahead and making as much money. And you can have people who are capitalists but also have like a social venture behind it or are responsible. I mean, that's why we have something that's being introduced called the Buffett rule, because there are a certain class of people who have made wild amounts of money and they realize how ludicrous that is and they would like to give something back. But they are in the vast minority. So we can't really count on that, which is why you need to create rules and regulations to make sure that everyone pays a fair share, because if we just simply went and hoped that everyone attended to their good graces and was thinking about, their brother, their sister, the person that they've never met down the street. Well, we're unfortunately not in a country that feels that way, and we're not in a system that rewards that.
Kind of beg to make it a country that cares about its neighbors and stuff.
Exactly. So while there are still great things about capitalism, while I definitely want people to be encouraged, if you have a phenomenal idea, to get out there and get your bread and make sure that you are a success, there's also a horribly dark side to it, which is incredibly selfish. And really, the question is also, is it just completely the system, or we also need to change just as a people and how we're educating and what we're actually valuing? Could we still keep capitalism as a business system, but could we actually change the values of people, that we are producing more Warren Buffetts, that we are producing more people who, when they get money, their first thought is to turn around and say, well, this is enough, or this is too much. How am I going to help these other people who are not around me but I want to bring up?
I agree with you 100% on that. And unfortunately, it seems like that's not the case because we have so much greed in this world, so much greed. So what are your other thoughts about this, Maya?
I'd like to quote Dr. Martin Luther King, who the system likes to put in the box of pacification around I have a dream, and then they keep him in I have a dream, but very few people really dig into some of the things that Dr. King has spoken about, because he was very critical of capitalism.
Of course he was,
And I would like to say this quote from him, and he says that one day we must ask the question, why are there 40 million poor people in America? And when you begin to ask that question, you are raising the question about the economic system, about the distribution of wealth. When you ask that question, you begin to question the capitalist economy. And I think those are the things that I don't agree with capitalism. I believe it's a system that kills people. And we see what happens. Dr. King also said one time, every bomb that was dropped in Vietnam, you felt at home. Every dollar of the capitalists that they gain on Wall Street and elsewhere, we feel it back in our communities. The benefits aren't there for our people. So we have to look at alternative systems, whatever that may be, for the betterment of society.
How about you, Bliss? How are you feeling about capitalism?
I agree. Capitalism is definitely hurting our society as a whole. The notion of entrepreneurialism is one that has existed since the dawn of time. So we don't need a label for it. We don't need someone telling us it's capitalism. We don't need to use that word to call it, to label it. So why are we falling into this trap of capitalism? If we're setting up our own businesses and creating opportunities for people in our neighborhoods to work, we don't need to go by the label of capitalism to do that. We have always done that. Mom and pop shops have done that. But what happens is, the true capitalism does is you have these giant conglomerations that come in and completely wipe out the grassroots entrepreneurialism. Yeah. And that's what I really, really don't agree with. I agree with entrepreneurialism, but I don't agree with this complete annihilation of the individual's ability to earn, to make an income off of his labor. Yeah. So that, I definitely think that system needs to go. We need to find something that will work for society as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with all of you guys. Rosie, do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with basically what you had to say. So capitalism is definitely the most undemocratic form of government. And we have, I mean, they give you this like election, they sell you this idea of democracy, and they give you one politician who's like a racist, sexist, misogynist bigot, so you can elect a neoliberal imperialist over and over again. That's every 4 years. And then what they tell you is you cannot vote third-party system. You have to vote for the two-party cartel and then make change every 4 years.
So in that sense, I say, is democracy based on a notion, an ideology that's based on majority rule? Is the majority right in that sense? The majority is obviously wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so are we going to fall? If that's democracy, I don't want this democracy.
Democracy kills.
Yeah. Exactly. You know? So I always say that this democracy is nothing but an illusion of freedom.
Yes.
Because you can't. If you want these other candidates to have a platform, but they never do.
Yeah.
You know?
It's sad.
And we saw that with the 2008, was it 2008 presidential election with Cynthia McKinney.
Yep.
She was running, but she got no airtime. Nothing. She was never even mentioned.
But it's almost like they want to keep it like that between the two only.
Right.
Like, oh, you have those options, but you don't have to give them that much. They don't need the 15 minutes of fame that much. They can stay.
But you also have to think about the people who are actually engaging inside of the system. I mean, even for this year's primary, there are over about 400,000 registered voters inside of Boston. The primary turnout gave us less than 9%, or about 9% of people who were registered to vote actually voted. Wow. So 91% of Boston let a 9% section of Boston decide who is going to be on the next ballot.
What? Well,
so I also have to think, when I think about democracy, of if you don't engage in the first steps of the system, and that's the first steps are some of the most important. A primary is when everyone has a chance to be heard, and that's when you have the most names and the most options on the ballot. Yeah. It is one of the most important ballots that you will touch, actually, especially because that ballot also has a lot to do with your local election.
But a lot of people, we don't learn a lot about the local elections and stuff. Yeah.
No, they don't. And they don't understand that your local election makes so much more of a difference to you than your national election.
And I feel like we should almost hold our TV stations here locally accountable for that. They should be giving us that information. That's almost their job. Instead, they almost like kind of focus more on just like presidential election, like the bigger stuff. But like local stuff we should be knowing about. Okay. Yeah.
And I think too, it's like, as Bliss was saying earlier, right, they want to tell the people to vote for the lesser of two evils, right? And what we've been saying is like, no, we want people, if you're going to choose to be a part of that process, vote for what you want, you know? And if we can see that there have been some in the Republican class who have said there's no way in heck they're voting for Trump, they're going to go to the polls and they're going to write in whoever they feel like writing in. Yeah. But other folks, I feel, in other communities don't even know that that's where the empowerment piece comes in. You know?
They don't
the
know
Black
that
Panther
option.
Party utilized the election campaign as a way to elevate what was going on with the struggle during that time, right? And they weren't having conferences inside of fancy buildings. They had it on the street corners. Yep. You know, they weren't sending people to go to hospitals and clinics. They had clinics on the streets. And so you know that if you don't give the people an opportunity to be able to come together and set their own agenda. You know, in Cuba, they have what's known as committees in defense of the revolution, where the people within the province come together, organize, set the strategy about what are the things that are important to them, what do they want to work on, and that's what they do. But every time that we as a people have tried to organize and do for self, we've seen the whole weight of the state apparatus come down. You know, right now it's Standing Rock, you know, and for the indigenous people, what we see going on in Haiti, you know, what we see going on in Jamaica, what we see going on in Africa, you know, and this is all a part of the state. You know, and people have to ask that question. The election system is a part of the state apparatus that's used to mislead people and direct people's conversation. Have you arguing about Hillary and Trump when after this is all said and done, they'll be back on the golf course playing golf, right?
Yeah. Well, Maya, we're gonna go to a short break, but before we go to the short break, I want to do a quick little trivia pop-up question, woohoo, for your chance to win a gift card. All right, so let's see how much you know about your political, trivia. So, as we know, Hillary wasn't the first to run for president as a female. Who was the first woman to ever run for president in the United States?
Shirley
Chisholm.
She was the first African American, yes. Yeah. But who was the first?
That's what
I can't remember her name, but I know who she is. She was back in the suffragette days.
Yep. Okay, I'll give you like some type of
Elizabeth Cady
clue. That's with the V. Her name.
V.
Yeah.
Is very much on the tip of my tongue.
Yep. Well, you know what? We'll come back to it after this short break, and then we'll figure out who it was. All right.
Socialism is a system that lays the basis for empowering the workers who are disempowered now. What we're saying is that we don't need the bosses to do this. We don't need the bankers to do this. Your interest lies in showing solidarity with the most oppressed workers because we all have the same interest. So that's really what socialism is all about.
All right, guys, thank you guys for still staying in touch with us. As you can see that we're talking about the presidential election and the debates, and we had a lot to say. Our panelists is very passionate about what they're saying. I agree with a lot of stuff that you're saying. But now we're going to be talking about local things that really affect us the most, like the Massachusetts ballot question. So in front of all of my panelists, they have yes or no signs that they're going to, kind of just like vote on the spot. I don't know if they're actually going to put it on their ballot, but, we're just going to do it and see what happens. So we're going to go over all 4 of the Massachusetts ballot questions. So let's start with the first question. All right, so the first question is, this proposed law will allow the State Gaming Commission to issue 1 additional Category 2 license, which would permit operation of a gaming establishment with no table games and not more than 1,250 slot machines. So a yes on this, some of the arguments that I've been reading about this is that a yes would allow an additional slot. So right now, the Plain Ridge Park Casino has 1 license slot, so they want to add another one. So a lot of people are like, yes, this would be great. We'll make a lot more money for Massachusetts, more business, blah, blah, blah. A no would be like they want to keep it the same. So as of right now, there's only 3 casino resorts and they have 1 slot parlor. So what are you guys' thoughts of that? Yes or no? Confused? What are you thinking about the whole gambling thing here in Massachusetts? Yeah, confused. Yeah, no's. Yes, yeah, okay. Anybody want to give why they're feeling the way they're feeling?
I'm going to have to, take off my actual civic engagement chair hat and put on, a personal...
Yes.
That's what I'm doing this for right now. When you open things like slot parlors, we just passed making the new actual gaming casinos here in Massachusetts. Exactly. And so we haven't even tested that, and then we're going to expand the slot parlors.
The more greed that you were talking about earlier, the more,
This just feels very greedy, even if it does create some jobs. What kind of jobs is it really creating in these systems? And we know we're going through a very, very troubling spike in heroin addiction right now, and gambling is right behind that. It's any kind of addiction is really a disease, and you can't help that. So why are we going to actually add to this system when we have no idea what adding this is actually going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Except we do know that it might lead to more crime in those neighborhoods, that there's a possibility of increased amount of gambling addiction. And if we're already battling all these other fronts, why
add another
Why
problem?
are we going to add another problem to this? Please, go to Connecticut.
Yeah, exactly. They have some over there, right? Foxwoods, Mohegan Sun, everything you need. All right, anybody else want to give their opinions?
I think I was the only one that said yes.
Yes. Okay. Why yes?
I had a yes and no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it is a yes or no. I don't gamble, so I really don't care. But I think the question was just regarding slot machines.
Yeah.
And I feel like it is a small addiction, you know. My grandparents go to Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, so I was really just kind of thinking about them. Oh, they probably would like more slot machines.
My mom would love that. My grandma.
So when the question wasn't really, if the question was really based on more blackjack and more, you know, in that sense, then I would probably be a definite no. But I definitely, you know, hearing Kristen's insight, you know, it was my first time actually evaluating question one.
Yeah.
So
well, that's fine.
I didn't really put too much thought to it, but yeah, I didn't really think, you know, slot machines would be that much of a risk of, you know, what you would see in Vegas and in Atlantic City. But I felt like slot machines are not that bad. But, you know, if it was the other stuff, you know, I would have a problem.
Totally cool. Do you want to say anything, Natural Boost? Or you guys want to move on to the next one? It's up to you.
I mean, it's not something that's really hot on my list of
things you want to change.
Yeah,
and stuff.
things I want to change. And I'll give you a response based on both answers, yes and no. So my question to you is this casino, is it referring to all the casinos in Massachusetts or just one in particular?
Just, I guess all of them. That's what I read, yeah.
And are they all Native American casinos?
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, that's
so
one thing I do not know.
To me, this is going to sound very biased. Okay, they're not all Native American. Because I was going to say, if they were Native American casinos, the only reason why I would say yes is because I want Native Americans to reap as much as they can from this nation for everything that's been taken from them.
Yep.
That's the only reason why I would say yes. But no for all the other reasons already mentioned at the table.
That's real.
We don't need the traffic increased in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
We do not need the traffic.
Yeah.
The traffic is already bad as it is.
I mean, today it was bad, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys are ready to move on to question 2?
Yeah.
And for question 2, guys, I mean, if you have been awake in Boston, that is the most, question that everyone's going crazy over. It has the most, there's a lot of yeses and nos. Like, there's teams of people that make sure that, you know, they want their voices heard. And I know you guys have a lot to say, so I'm just going to let them go on and do their thing. So question 2, let's read it. Okay. This proposed law would allow the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to approve up to 12 new charter schools or enrollment expansions in existing charter schools each year. So, let me open it up, the mic to you guys, and tell me what you're thinking. Yes or no? Let's vote. No.
Who's the money behind question 2? Oh, the answer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That is a no from all of our panelists. It's a no from me too, but we're going to let you guys talk. Yeah, so Maya, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, as I was saying earlier to some of the panelists, you know, we have to look at where the charter schools begin, right? And it's like our children are now on the auction block. Education has become commodified in such a way, and I was sharing how probably roughly about over 15 years ago, when they dropped the documentary Waiting for Superman, and Bill Gates was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. This was the beginning of this conversation, right? And then shortly, a few years after that, you saw Zuckerberg, again, on the Oprah Show with
Facebook, right?
Mayor of Newark at the time, Cory Booker, who's now a senator. And Facebook had pledged $100 million to the schools in Newark. Now, both Mr. Gates and Mr. Zuckerberg are strong proponents of the charter school movement. They fund the Codman, some of them fund the Codman Charter that's here. So you look and you see this theft of resources that should be put into a system that is supposed to be the equalizer, But like the young man who graduated from Harvard, I want to say last year, right? If they keep telling us education is the key, and then they change the locks. And
that's the best speech ever.
You know, and so I think with that, you know, it's again, ask different questions, right? And the question is, who's funding this movement?
Yeah.
You know, who asks Governor Baker, Speaker DeLeo, and all of these others, open up your books and tell us, like, who are these organizations and these corporate backers that are coming in? If charter schools are public schools, why do they have a board of directors?
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't they answer to the school committee? You know, I remember being at the ACLU, did a report last year sometime about discipline and BPS. You can't get numbers out of the charter schools about how they're disciplining our children. But when you go and you hear testimony at city council hearings, there was a mother at a city council hearing who talked about her 5-year-old child had over 50 demerits, okay? And he's in a charter school.
Wow.
You know, so you have these discrepancies and disparities, and it's like, no, invest the money into the public education system. Exactly. And we know Boston has a very strong history around public education, right?
It's funny because around the world, people know Massachusetts is having the best schools. And for me personally, I don't understand why we can't fix the schools instead of building new ones. But
look at, I mean, Brown versus the Board of Education was 1958, I believe, right? Boston did not integrate their schools till 1974. And December 12th, 1974 was one of the bloodiest marches that happened around education, right? So the systemic racism and the systemic like oppression and putting out this narrative about schools and education, it's deliberate. And so I would hope that, you know, and I see that there's some more movement on the no folks, and that's a beautiful thing. But I'm tired of our young people going to city council and student school committee meetings and pleading not to close my school. And asking for jobs and begging for things, right? When the resources are there, that's supposed to be their right. And their families' right. And we have to look at how they're pitting families against families, neighbors against neighbors. And so I'm definitely against no.
And no. That's actually one of the most important things that I've heard about it, actually, is the fact that it's not even a question. I mean, you can be pro-charter school, you can be anti-charter school, but that's not even the question that's on the ballot. The question on the ballot is whether you want to push forward an unfunded mandate to allow 12 new schools to be built in a system that just came out and said that it will have a $25 million budget shortfall every single year without new changes.
Yeah, so where are they getting that money from?
Exactly, where are you getting that money from? If this was a funded measure, then certainly it would be closer to a pro-charter, anti-charter question. But really, it's, do you want to push something into through the legislature? Do you want to put something on the books that has absolutely no money behind it, but will affect us at all the schools, the charter schools and the public schools? And I know you want to jump in, so I want to hear that.
She got her butt in and everything.
I'm like, I think that as a student and organizer, I have come too far for funding, pushed too far for funding our public schools. I participated in 2 walkouts along with many other great student leaders. And I was having a conversation with my AP biology teacher and how she has 35 students in only one classroom. And I was like, how are you gonna make, how are these kids gonna be able to learn and get the proper education? She was so positive. She was like, Rosie, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna, I'm gonna, this is gonna work. Like, she was so excited about this new school year and how she was gonna possibly make this classroom work for 35 students. And I came to the realization that we're at level 4 currently. XO High School is about to close down, and we don't have enough funds, and our test scores are going down every year. And then at this moment, I came to the realization that it's not our teachers, it's not our students, it's definitely the funding. If I'm pretty sure if we had about 15 to 20 students in one classroom, these kids could be getting the actual education that they possibly need. Now I think about like my school closing down and then reopening a new charter school seems completely
Rosie,
unfair.
can I just stop you for 1 second? You're doing, oh my gosh, so good. But right now, we have a phone call. So someone is really engaged. Thank you for tuning in. What's your name and what's your question?
You're welcome. My name is Anthony, and I have a commenter. And my comment is this. I strongly feel that the Boston public school system, or education in general, is one big monopoly, and that people like charter schools has a voice, or in this case, a chance for their kids to succeed.
I'm sorry, you said that you feel like the charter schools are having their kids succeed. I didn't really hear you quite clearly, sir.
I strongly feel that the Boston public school system is one big monopoly, and that charter schools gives kids a chance to, or in this case, an alternative to succeed.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you for calling, giving your opinion, because, you know, there's a lot of people that do agree with you. So what do you guys think of his comment? What do you guys think of his comment, you know, saying that he thinks that charter schools does give people the opportunity, you know, to, you know, be better and get better education and stuff?
Well, I think here, like, JB is, I mean, Justin, I'm not call you JB, JS, because he's in the marketing arena, right? And so it's like, they've done a good job at marketing. They've done a good job at that, you know. But I want folks to remember when Deval Patrick was in office, right? I think it was in the latter part of his time, that Newton, I believe it was Newton North, which is a public school in Massachusetts. And they had allocated over $100 million. So you have a state-of-the-art public school that was built in Newton. According to what Charles Yancey used to tell us all the time, is that Boston has not had a state-of-the-art public school built, I think, since like the 70s. Oh, wow. You know, and he was looking at the land on River Street, where the hospital used to be at, you know. And so we have to look at that. They get to choose which communities get access to the resources. So it's like the young sister said, you know, like, it's not about teachers, you know, and lack of this or lack of that. They have it, you know. But when you go to a school, I remember being at West Roxbury High School, and you have teachers that have to photocopy textbooks in a high school. You know, I went to Latin Academy when it was on Ipswich Street, you know. We don't have an endowment like Latin school, but damn, I got a solid education at Latin Academy. So I think that we have to look at how these resources and how our children are like checker pieces on the checkerboard.
Yeah, and like we said, we got to look at where the money's coming from. Who's behind it? You said it was Zuckerberg, and there's a lot of businessmen behind this, because and I'm going to make another point too, but from what I understand, from what I've been observing, charter schools, what they're doing is, and I'm going to speak from the black community. I'm going to be the voice of the black community for a second, because that's through the lens that I'm analyzing this. When the whole charter school thing came about, I knew a lot of young black teachers who wanted to be a part of it, who wanted to kind of help this charter school thing grow so that it could be the voice for young blacks in the community. So young blacks can feel like they're getting quality education and everything. But then what happened is a lot of them got shut down. A lot of them were shut down. And when they were shut down, now that land or that building, it got bought out by investors. And a lot of these neighborhoods, they're being gentrified. So it seems like the charter schools is also a pipeline for gentrification, especially when they open up in the black communities. And the other point I'm going to make is, as we talked about, their marketing is you know, phenomenal. You know, because they can push out this picture of that of students excelling. When in actuality, when in actuality, what happens is the kids that are getting the poorest grades eventually get kicked out. Okay,
so what happens to them?
And what happens to them? And they keep this homogenous population in the school that is doing well, and then their test scores reflect that. Then they can say to the state, these are our numbers. This is how well we're doing.
Yeah.
But because they weed out, they filter out the ones that are not performing as well as they would like.
Yeah.
So we got to pay attention to that, and that's what's going on. It's nothing but a big game.
Yeah.
And that the money follows too. The money follows the student to the charter school. And when the charter school sends them back to the public school, it's hard for them to get that money back. I think the state owes like $400 million to the BPS. You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of schools, public schools now, are not even giving students textbooks anymore.
Yeah.
Yep. In my AP Stats class, we do not have any textbooks.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm completely confused.
I can call out the names of the schools, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not, they don't have the resources.
But they do not.
So why would we put our resources towards, you know?
That's well,
homeschool.
Guys,
Homeschool.
I'm so sad about this, but we're running out of time. I knew this was going to get very passionate. I knew it. We only got a few more minutes, so we won't go over the other two questions just because I want to get. You want to? Okay. We'll quickly vote. Quickly vote because we got 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes left of the show, so we're going to quickly vote. Okay. So question 3, real quick. This proposed law would prohibit any farm owner or operator from knowingly confining any breeding pig, calf raised for veal, or egg-laying hen in a way that prevents the animal from lying down, standing up, fully extending its limbs, or turning around freely. So basically, this question is saying that we would always get cage-free eggs, that our animals would be treated great, in a great environment. Yes or no? How are you feeling about this question?
Liberate the animals.
Yay! You said, okay, you're going to be both. Okay. So we're going to move on to question 4, just because we're running out of time. So the question 4, question 4, this proposed law will permit the possession, use, distribution, cultivation of marijuana in limited amounts by persons aged 21 and older, and would remove criminal penalties for such activities. Now, I know this question could be just as long as question 2, because I know we have a lot to say about this. So let's make it as short as you can, just because I want to get into how each of you guys think we could become civically engaged in our own community. So tell me, quickly what you think about question 4. Yes? Yes? Everyone says yes. Okay.
And release everybody that has a marijuana arrest immediately and expunge their records.
I agree. Okay. So guys, thank you so much for staying with us in these important conversations. As you can tell, we got very passionate. We're running out of time, but we really wanted to talk about this most important aspect that I feel is that how can you continue to be a leader in your own community? How can you continue to be civically engaged? So I want to hear from each of our panelists what their opinions on that. And please pay attention because you are a leader. You're watching this. You want to do something about it. You want to be engaged. So Rosie, how can people become, leaders, civically engaged?
I believe definitely being involved in their communities, interest groups, etc. Being aware of the policies and rules and laws that are being made, and whether if you agree or not, and you think there's always going to be a loophole, because that's how the governmental cartel works. Definitely organize in your community, come together as a community and discuss these issues and argue of legal and social takes you can take on these actions.
Yeah, and you said that you were in the BPS walkout. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was great. We actually, in the first walkout, I believe we managed to grab about 3,000 students, and then we striked for a second time, and we made a public hearing, and that one had about 1,000, but we had wonderful student leaders such as Brian, Jahi, which are wonderful people to work with, Trinity, Gabriela, and they were all gave their public testimony. They were able to be heard by the BPS community. I think that was just wonderful, and definitely I take that a true leader does for their community.
Yeah, and did you feel good participating in that?
I feel great. I honestly take pride in that.
Awesome. So Rosie, how can people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch, stay in touch with all the things you're doing in the community and all the things you're sharing for us to get engaged with?
Well, out social media. It's always somehow the best way to go. My name is Rosie Santana. I
I'm open to all friend requests, etc. And also my email is 98rsantana@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Rosie.
Thank you.
Kristen, what do you think? How can people become civically engaged in their communities?
Okay, well, I think that a really important part of being civically engaged in your community is to find out who's actually doing the work in your community and join up with them. Like, I'm here representing the Young Professionals Network of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts.
Thank you.
Familiar with our panelists. And the Urban League is actually one of the oldest direct services-based civil rights organizations in the entire country. I mean, as an organization, it was started because Blacks, when they left the southern region to come up here to find a better life in the cities in the north, were finding the exact same problems that they had in the south, and they banded together so they could create an organization to address the issues that they were facing. And so we have been doing this work for so long that I would love to just welcome more people on. Young Professionals Network in particular is the 18 to 45-year-old branch, and mostly we focus on philanthropy, brand recognition, and fundraising to support the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts here.
Awesome.
We actually have some events coming up on November 5th. We're actually doing a candid conversation with Police Chief Grass. He's going to be answering questions with no handlers, no filters.
Oh, good.
Talking directly to the community about race in the state of police in Boston. And I think it'll be really great and a chance for you to actually ask the questions to the person making the decisions.
Yeah,
because you really want to break down those barriers. And I like what you had said earlier about becoming a leader.
Yes.
Because the problem that we're seeing, I mean, look at this election. If you are not good with these people, be a leader. Step up. Put your neck out there. I mean, we're still looking at Ayanna Pressley, and she was the first Black woman who was elected to the city council. She's still sitting on there. That wasn't that long ago. We need more leaders in our community. We're actually running a leadership development conference on the weekend of November 12th. You can go to our website to find out more.
Awesome.
So it's for Young Professionals Network of Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts. It's ypnulem.org, and you can find everything about us and how to join us.
All right, thank you so much for sharing. Maya, so how can people become civically engaged in their communities?
Wow. I think by, again, just being involved with your community, with your neighbors, you know, and really understanding that what happens when the glitz and the glamour of the election is over, right? And the day-to-day work that people need to be a part of, you know. I identify as a socialist. I'm a member of Workers' World Party. And, you know, we have two candidates, Monica Moorhead and Lamont Lilly, that are leading our ticket. And I think that for us, in terms of the things that we're raising around, you know, to defend our communities, defend our people, to end racism, you know, support the self-determination of our people, you know. And we've also called for the release of our political prisoners, you know, and that's something that you haven't heard any candidate talk about. You know, Mumia Abu Jamal sits in prison all these years later. I bought his book to share. Leonard Peltier, one of our leaders of the indigenous movements, American Indian movement, and from the Lakota tribe, you know, it's going on over 40 years that Leonard Peltier has sat in prison.
What do you think? How can people become civically engaged in their communities?
We got to be accountable for what we bring into the community, and not any man or woman that's in that position is going to dictate what my legacy is going to be.
That's right, Jesse.
And we can together create our own opportunities and campaigns at a high school level, at a college level, even at a, you know, I hate the word senior citizen, but at a, you know, at an elderly level as well, where we can create campaigns, grassroots campaigns that are addressing what we want.
So, Bliss, how do you think people can continue to be naturally engaged in their, you know, in their communities?
Okay, as I said in the beginning of the discussion, I personally am not into voting, but I feel that actually not voting and exercising your right to say no when the status quo or when government is not meeting your needs is exercising your right, is exercising your God-given right and your political right to withhold your votes from the establishment or when you feel they're not doing right by you. And I think, as people say, our ancestors fought for the right to vote, but our ancestors also fought for the right for us to protest and boycott when things are not going our way. And I feel after 400 years of doing the same thing, we need to ask ourselves, is it insanity that we keep using the same tactics to get what we want and not getting what we want? Is it insanity? Are we playing the insanity card? We need to come up with a new strategy. They're playing chess. We're playing checkers. We keep voting, giving them our power, and not realizing that if we withhold our power, we actually make them earn our votes. We need to bring them to the table, and we're not going to do that by giving them our votes. If we actually sit out this election and many other elections that we feel are not answering our needs, they have to come to us and say, well, what do we do to get your votes? How do we get you engaged? And then we give them a list of our criterias. So I think that's an effective way of exercising our civic rights. So that's how I feel. We need to exercise that power. I don't feel like voting for this election is going to be the answer for black people, because with everything going on, black people need to come together, unify, and find a way to get out of the situation.
Right.
And the beginning step is to not vote for these two candidates or any candidate that does not meet our needs.
All right. Thank you so much, Bliss.
Also, you can reach me on Facebook, Natural Bliss Music, or Twitter, Real Black with a Q.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. We had such a great time. We're going to continue to have these conversations in the future, so stay tuned for some of these posts that will be on Fahrenheit TV on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr, and our new website, www.fahrenheittv.com, coming soon. Thank you guys so much.
Magic girl.